Welcome to the session from Magic Software and LetMobile. In this session we're going to have a quick introduction from me, and then Dror Todris from LetMobile will be giving you an overview of their very interesting mobile security offering. So BYOD, bring your own device, is something that we at Magic are very committed to helping our customers with. And in fact, we've been providing systems like MDM, mobile device management security, for some time. But for some of our clients, we're finding that a full MDM solution is just a bit too much. There can be quite a significant cost associated with it. And we recently became aware of this fantastic little offering from our partners at LetMobile, which is very easy, it's secure, and it's not at all intrusive on your device. So I think you're going to be very interested. Let me just give you this quick introduction to Magic, and I'll hand over. So Magic Software, we've been around for 30 years. We're experts in innovative technology. We're focused on business needs, the outcomes, not technology. We're in 50 countries. We have over 2,500 global partners, and our offices are in over 15 countries worldwide. So you can see there's quite a few in Europe. We also have presence in Asia, and both North and South America and South Africa. Our financials have been steadily growing and strong. And thank you very much. And with that, I will hand over to Dror. Dror, you should now be presenter.
Yes. 1 second. Let me know, please, when you can see my screen, and let me know if you can hear me okay.
I see your screen and I can hear you fine. I hope everyone else can too.
Okay. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Dror Todris, and I'm CEO at LetMobile. And I will take you through this deck, talking a little bit about the challenges of BYOD, but more specifically about the solution that we offer and how it can address most, if not all, BYOD challenges. Please feel free to use the chat options to ask questions. We'll try to answer them at the end of the presentation, or if not, then we'll reply separately to every question you may have. So our solution is a gateway-based solution for the BYOD the BYOD challenge. Now, there's been a major paradigm shift in the IT space with the introduction of smart mobile devices. If in the past users had, let's say, a corporate laptop or corporate desktop, which was fully managed, fully encrypted, that was acceptable to the user because that was considered a corporate device. It's a completely different story when we're talking about smart mobile devices, BYOD or not, by the way, because all smart mobile devices are considered personal. You carry them with you in your pocket. You use it for placing calls first, but also to take pictures, to listen to music, Facebook, and others. And therefore, it's considered personal, and IT realizes, or has been realizing over the past few years, that it cannot treat a smart mobile device as if it was a corporate laptop, for example. And therefore, a new solution must strike a new balance between the needs of IT, which remains security, manageability, compliance, control. That hasn't changed, of course. But the users, and more specifically the user experience, must be taken into account in a much more serious way. And this is where we come in. We put a lot of focus on the user experience, and we try to offer, and we do offer, as I'll show you during this presentation, an uninterrupted user experience, even though we provide very high levels of security for satisfying all the needs of IT. So with that, let me dive into describing the solution. So imagine a mobile security solution that first works on any mobile device, including different and new use cases, like shared devices, devices that are being used in transient fashion, a solution that never leaves corporate data on a mobile device, and that in addition to that provides powerful access control and DLP capabilities to satisfy, again, security and compliance requirements of the IT or the security officer. But at the same time, such a solution does not take over the device, like some of the MDM solutions require, does not rely on the device for security, and does not destroy the user experience. And with that, I'll present our solution. As I mentioned, this is a gateway solution. It's pretty unique because what we've done is we've taken the gateway approach, which is very widely used in the software security market, as you probably know, but we've adapted that to mobile. So unlike most other solutions which are more device-centric, our solution is device-agnostic, so to speak, and we enforce everything from the gateway level. Our gateway comprises of a number of components. One of them is email and attachments. That's our main product that we have today. We've recently, or about 6 months ago, we've added mobile DLP capabilities, which currently serves the email and attachment solution. We have a single point of management or a single console for managing the entire service. So that's another component of the gateway. And we will soon introduce secure access to corporate applications, again, using the same capabilities that we have today for email, including DLP, including access control, etc. And it will all be clearer as I'll describe each of the components. Now, I'm sure you'll all agree that there's almost an endless variety of smart mobile devices out there, different form factors, different manufacturers, different OS versions, etc. The number of platforms keeps growing, and soon enough we're going to see new types of devices like wearable devices, the likes of Google Glass, head-up displays that we're going to have in cars pretty soon. So the number of platforms is growing. The number of devices per user is growing accordingly. And we must remember that each platform can offer very different security capabilities from the others. So if we take all that into account, we realize that it's becoming impractical to manage mobility on the device level going forward. So what we've done is basically abstracted security and management from the device level, raised it to the server level, and from the server we're able to enforce unified security policies across all types of devices, trying to become as device agnostic as we can. Now, I'm not saying that MDM is the wrong solution, but it's a very good solution, but for very specific use cases. And I'll touch on that later, but again, from a security perspective, and if we're talking about personal devices, we believe that enforcing policies from outside the device, that's the way to go, and more specifically going forward when the number of devices grow. So how it works, I'll start with describing the email and attachment solution that we have today. Today, most devices which are connected to a mail server or a corporate mail server is using a protocol called ActiveSync. It's a very strong protocol, very widely adopted. It's actually the de facto standard in the industry. It's supported by all mobile devices on one hand and all mail servers on the other hand. It's a very good protocol. It's been optimized over the years, but it has two main drawbacks. One of them, it requires the corporate password to be stored on the device and be sent with every request for new message. And all the data, when using ActiveSync, is being pushed to the device, stored on the device, and then you become reliant on the device to protect that data. So in order to overcome these shortcomings of ActiveSync, we're introducing our gateway server in between the mobile device and the corporate mail server or network. And first of all, we're preventing the need of storing the corporate password on the device. We generated a special password per device that's stored on the device instead of the corporate password. We then use that to recreate the corporate password with every request, thereby completely protecting the corporate password. It's never stored on a mobile device, and it's never transmitted over the mobile link. In addition to that, when a message goes from the mail server towards the mobile device, we strip off the content of the message, and we only send the headers to the device. Now, if the device is set to push mode, the user will get the headers in push mode, so every new message will appear in the list of messages, but it will not hold any content. It will not store any content for the device. And then when the user attempts to view the message to get access to the real content, this is when we ask the user to authenticate to our servers. We enforce multi-factor authentication, including the device itself, the user and the user password, and even the location of the user or of the device. And when we authenticate the user or the device, then we display the data to the user on the device, but we are not storing any data on the device. So you can think of the device as a terminal to the data or a viewer to the data, but it does not store any data. Now imagine a world with personal devices, BYOD or not, with 3, 4, 5 devices per user. Instead of managing the actual endpoint, we're going to make sure that no data is going to reside on any of these endpoints. Now, let me show you how it looks from the user perspective. In this example, we use an iPhone. By the way, this is iOS 7. Since we are gateway-based and not device-centric, we support most operating systems out of the box because we're not reliant on that again. So just install the beta version of iOS 7 and it works. In this example, you can see that I have a number of accounts. I have an iCloud account, a LetMobile account, and a Yahoo account, which is personal, of course. If I'm clicking on the All Inboxes view, then I'm going to see a list of messages. You can see that the third and fourth messages are personal messages, and you can see them with the subject line, with the name of the sender, the subject line, and the content. But you can see that the first two are corporate messages. You see the name of the sender, you see the subject line, but you don't have a preview. Because as I mentioned before, data was removed from the message, and we only send the headers to the device. Now, when the user wants to view a message, he clicks on that message. Now, if the user is in an active session between the device and the LetMobile server, then he will see the email immediately. If not, he's going to get this message saying that the email is protected by LetMobile and the user needs to click to log in. The user then clicks on the link, being redirected to a login screen, go back to the mail application, and the message is there. Now the message again is not there to be left on the device, it is just displayed, but it is displayed inside the native original mail application of the device. In this case, the native mail application of iOS 7, but it could be the native on Android devices, etc. Now, the only time we create a hassle for the user, so to speak, is when the user attempts to view or to access corporate data for the first time. We don't ask the user for a device PIN code because, again, we're not managing the device, we're protecting the data. We're not asking the user to log in for every message, just for the first time before he attempts or when he attempts to view corporate data. And then throughout that session, he can just go on and read, he or she can go on and read messages freely without any interruption. Of course, the length of the session is configurable by the administrator. And it also could be based on different parameters like the network that the device is using to connect, the geolocation, etc. For attachment, we offer the same experience. So the user can click on an attachment as it appears inside the email message. It will display on the mobile device, but we will not allow the user to save an attachment to the device or to open an attachment with a third-party application that's on the device. Because once that is allowed, then as an IT organization, you've lost control of the file. It can then be automatically synced to iCloud or Dropbox or other services, even without any malicious intentions on behalf of the user. It just happens because this is how it is set up, and you've lost control of your data. But we do want to allow the user the experience of saving attachments for later use. So we've recently introduced what we call a secure mobile folder. This is a personal folder or a briefcase that every user has on the server side. So when the user sees an attachment that he wants to save or she wants to save, they click Save, and it's being stored to the server instead of to the device. Because again, we don't want to rely on the device for security. And every access to that file is going to pass through our policy engine, and every access, every time the user attempts to read that attachment or to view that attachment, we're going to make sure that he's in policy. He's connecting from the right device, he knows the password, the location is right, etc. Now I've completed the description of our email and attachment solution. By the way, of course, it also supports contact and calendar items the same way. We're only pushing the relevant data, like email headers, we're pushing that data to the device, but we allow an administrator to filter out certain more sensitive fields out of a calendar item or a contact item, like emails or like an attachment. So if you have, let's say, a calendar invitation with an attachment, you may want to protect that behind the password and not send it to the device unprotected. If you have a bridge number, we can filter that out and only allow that after the user authenticates. Now I'm moving to the second component of our gateway, which is DLP. That was introduced about 6 months ago, again, serving the email and attachment component. And we look at mobile DLP at 4 different layers. The first layer, and the most important one, is the fact that data is never stored on the mobile device, not the content of messages, not attachments, and not the corporate password. This is the most powerful protection against data leakage. So if there's no data on the device, then there's nothing to be leaked. But we're adding 2 more layers to that. One of them is access control. So we're using a different set of parameters which are contextual to the service, to the gateway. And these parameters are the geolocation of the device, the IP address that the device is using to connect, the type of device, who the user is, what time of day, etc. So we allow the admin to build all that into a policy, preventing users from logging in, for example, from the wrong location, let's say from out of country, or applying different policies to the data based on these parameters. For example, if the user has access to corporate attachments when he's connecting from his home country, but you want to prevent the user from connecting from out of the country, then that could be set up as a rule. The third layer is the ability to block or filter or mask emails or attachments based on the data itself. So we scan the data of email messages and attachments, and we allow the administrator to set policies based on different patterns or keywords that are in that attachment. So for example, you may have an attachment with a 16-digit string in it. So the admin can set a policy saying that every attachment with a 16-digit string is considered to include credit card numbers and therefore customer information, and therefore might be in breach of PCI, and you want to block that attachment from ever being displayed on a mobile device, or you want to allow that attachment but filter out this 16-digit string or strings. Or another option is to ask for step-up authentication. So if the user has access to regular attachments, so to speak, he will only need to authenticate to LetMobile the regular way. But when that user attempts to view a more sensitive message or attachment, then we can ask him to add another factor of authentication, like using a token or an OTP type of authentication to get access to the more sensitive data. Another component of, or another layer of our mobile DLP solution is the ability to integrate with other corporate DLP services. So if you already have a corporate DLP running and you have all your data classification rules in it, in order not to ask the administrator to manage two sets of data classification rules, we can inherit the classification rules from that third-party DLP service and use that when we set up policies on a specific attachment or an email message in our service. The third component of the gateway is central management. We offer a single web-based point of managing the entire service. It is used both by the security officer or the IT administrator to set and enforce policies, security policies, but it also includes a lot of information about the users who are connected to the service, their devices, their specific sessions. All that can be applied to a policy or used for compliance purposes in different reports that can be extracted from the service. So we have very granular and detailed information about that in the service. In addition to that, we give the user a self-service option, and we do that for two reasons. First of all, the users are, as we established before, and they want to feel in control. They don't want to feel that they need to submit control over the personal devices to someone else or to the IT, or to IT in that case. So in order to empower the users and giving them a sense of control, we allow them to manage their own use of the service. For example, adding devices, removing devices, changing the password, logging out from the service remotely, identify their or locating the device on a map, etc. Of course, every device that they're going to add is going to be bound by the policies that were set by the security officer or the administrator, but the actual management effort is going to be done by the users for themselves. The other side of that is that it is going to contribute significantly to reducing the total cost of ownership of using our solution. So if I can just add my own device without placing a help desk call or without showing up at the help desk, that would save time and money for the help desk, and again reducing the overall operational costs of using our service. Now, if I have to summarize the value proposition for the end user, first of all, users get to retain control of their devices. This is extremely important when we're talking about bring your own device, and is also very important when we're talking about corporate devices, which again are personal. It means that we don't ask for device passcode, there are no hidden agents on the device, nothing happens to the battery use of the device, etc. The personal use of the device is entirely uninterrupted. So you can keep on using the device for personal purposes as you've done before. You can even read your personal messages inside the same native email application without ever feeling that something is protecting your corporate messages. And for the work use, we offer the least interrupted option. Again, just asking the user to authenticate once per session, but that's it. The user can keep enjoying the native applications on the device, the way they were designed by the device manufacturer. And the last item here is the self-service capabilities, which I've just described. And if I, let me jump this one, if I summarize the value proposition for the IT, first of all, we offer very high levels of security. Again, by the fact that there's no data on the device, the security which we offer is very high. We enhance it even further with the access control policies and the DLP rules which I've described. And another benefit for the IT is, again, the TCO. We offer a very low TCO. First of all, our license costs are very attractive, but even more importantly, we charge per user and not per device as part of our philosophy, I would say, of being device agnostic. And therefore, when the IT is not required to manage per device or to manage every device that is connected, but manage the service or controlling the data, it reduces significantly the overall cost of using the service. Now I'm going back one slide just to mention that our solution can be deployed in different ways. One of them is a cloud-based software as a service. We have our own service which user can consume as a pure cloud service. We also have the option of an on-premise deployment, installing at the customer site. Usually pretty easy to do as well because we're using and leveraging standard technologies, so we can be up and running in a matter of hours, not more than that. Another option is to work with the managed service providers, install our solution as a service in their cloud service, becoming part of their product portfolio. And this is something, another channel to the market, I would say, that we use. Let me mention very briefly the last component of our gateway, which is the application protection. This is still on our roadmap. This is not available yet. It will be available towards the end of this year. The idea is to secure access to corporate web application as an organization wants to expose certain applications to mobile devices. So we're going to take the capabilities, the core capabilities of our gateway, including multi-factor authentication, which I've mentioned, the mobile DLP, which I've mentioned, access control, etc. We're going to use all that to secure access to other corporate applications in addition to email. Now, there are many solutions out there which offer the ability to wrap native application on the mobile device and manage that. We're taking a different approach, which is of course in line with our overall gateway approach. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap, so to speak, the web application. So if you have, let's say, an ERP application that you want to start exposing to mobile devices, you're going to probably develop that using different frameworks, and of course the Magic framework. You're going to develop a mobile site or a mobile web interface to that application. We're going to make sure that during a web session between the device and the web application, no data is going to be left on the device. So if there are cookies that the web application is using, we're going to make sure it's encrypted. If the application wants to cache data on the device, we're going to make sure that it's not left there after the session ends. We're going to make sure that if the user attempts to download attachments or data from this web application to the device, it's either not stored on the device or stored in the secure mobile folder, etc. So we're going again to use our gateway technology and the core capabilities of our gateway to also support corporate web applications. From the user perspective, the user would just have to log in once in a single sign-on fashion. So if he signed up or logged into email, for example, he will get to this portal. In this portal, every user is going to see the applications that were exposed specifically for him as a user or as a part of a user group, and will be able to access this application from the mobile device, again using the native browser of the device, and achieving the experience that HTML5, for example, can offer for a mobile device, which is not native yet, but it's getting very, very close to native. So this is an example of how access to corporate web application will look like on a mobile device. Now let me briefly discuss how we compare with other solutions out there in the market. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of comparing our solution to other specific solutions. What we've done here is we've identified the three main approaches to mobile security, I would say, that are available in the market today, and which are mobile device management, container and application wrappers, and a gateway approach, which is represented by us in this case. And we compare them on three different levels. One level is data security, another level is user experience, and the last one is TCO. MDM solutions are not considered security solutions. They are considered more of asset management solutions. Of course, they have their place in use cases when the device is not a personal device, but a corporate device, even if it's a mobile device. And we actually have a few customers that are using us next to an MDM solution for specific use cases. The user experience with MDM, once you log in the device, is fine, but you always have to put in a PIN code to protect the device itself, which negatively affect the user experience. And in terms of total cost of ownership, usually the license costs are low or are reasonable, but when you start managing on the device level or per device, then the TCO can build up. In terms of containers, they are considered secure, so I'm not going to argue against that. The main issue with containers is the user experience. They force you, or you lose the native user experience when you're using a container. You're forced to use a third-party application, let's say for email or for calendar. Imagine that you need to go back and forth between your corporate calendar and your personal calendar on the same device to make sure that they match. It's much more convenient, I'm sure you'll agree, to have one view of your personal and work calendars using the native applications. And in addition to that, such solutions are very expensive, and the total cost of ownership of using them is very, very high. And of course, the gateway solution I've described, no point in repeating that, I guess, here, just to mention very high levels of security, an uninterrupted user experience, and relatively low TCO. Now I'd like to share with you a few customer case studies. Generally speaking, we have customers in various industries, from banks, financial services, government, pharma, technology, etc. Some of the customers use LetMobile exclusively to provide email security. But as I mentioned, we can very nicely complement MDM, or MDM can complement our deployment, where MDM supports corporate-owned devices for certain use cases when we support the corporate masses, so to speak. So all the users just bringing in their personal device and want to connect. We also, in some cases, complement secure containers like GOOD. So company may use GOOD for, again, certain use cases, but for BYOD, or for the majority of the users, they're using our solution. And just to repeat myself, the reasons to prefer LetMobile is, first of all, the user experience and the ability of users to manage themselves. It can very easily scale to many devices. Again, first, we don't charge per device, and second, it's very easy to provision and start working with a new device using the self-service tool. And total cost of ownership, when you connect the masses, or when you open up to BYOD, TCO is becoming critical, and we offer a very low TCO. I have a number of specific use cases. This company is a system integrator out of the US. They provide system integration services to intelligence agencies in the US. And they were looking for a solution that will allow them to adopt a BYOD program, but that will not store any data on the mobile device. Because once corporate data is left on a mobile device, they need to terminate this device. And if you're talking about personal devices, that's not easy to do. So they've tried all other approaches, and they figure out that our solution is a better fit for their BYOD program. We're now working with them to implement that further, and also supporting their corporate-owned devices. Another company, a company called ECI Telecom. This is a multi-billion-dollar telco equipment provider. They actually were using Good before they've even met us. Good Technology, which is the leading secure container vendor out there. They were using Good for a very small subset of their user base, just to the executive level. But when they decided to open up to BYOD and have many more customers accessing the network and consuming corporate data from mobile devices, they figure out that Good is not the right solution for that because of the cost, but even more so because of the TCO and the user experience. So they've adopted our solution. And we're currently working side by side with Good. We didn't try to displace them in any way, because each has its own merits. So this is an example of how we can complement a Good implementation, which is usually adopted for a small subset of the organization. So this is not uncommon that Good is being used for 5 or 10% of the user base. Another example of, or a different example of how we complement MDM, or in this case, MDM complements our solution. This is YES is a company that provides TV, satellite TV services. Their entire user base is using LetMobile for email security, and there's a small subset, the door-to-door salespeople, which are using a dedicated tablet, and this tablet is not considered a personal device. It is more like a corporate laptop, for that matter, which is managed under the asset management framework in that organization. So they're using LetMobile for these devices as well, but on the same device, they're also using MDM, again, to manage such devices as part of their asset management or inventory management framework. So this is a good example of how the majority of users, which are using a personal device, some are BYOD and some are corporate-owned, are using LetMobile, but the dedicated tablets are also using an MDM solution. This is an investment house, also out of Israel, very highly regulated, like other financial services over here. They were looking for a solution to replace their BlackBerry deployment when they started to move to iOS devices and Android devices. They ran a very thorough investigation of different solutions in the market, and eventually they've decided to go with us. First of all, because it gave them a very easy way to meet the regulatory compliance requirements. And the user feedback, which was very important to them, moving from BlackBerry, was also a major key in their decision, because we could offer, as I mentioned before, and as I presented to you before, the best user experience in the category. Another customer of ours is the Israeli government. They have a central IT body that provides ISP services to the different ministries. We're installed there as a private cloud, and from that cloud, different ministries and agencies are using our service as a cloud service, but as an internal one or a private one. And we have quite a number of different ministries and agencies that are using our service through that. That completes my presentation for today. I don't see any questions, so if you want to ask something now, that I can definitely try to answer.
Okay, thank you, Dror. So, for everyone on the line, in order to ask a question, you have a little raise hand button. If you just click that. Okay, so we have a couple of questions coming in.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, so I'll just read this now. It's a text question. The service looks great, but what is there to stop the user from going to the email web portal and just downloading an attachment to the phone from that?
I guess you mean the Outlook web access. I guess nothing may prevent that unless you can just block access to Outlook web access, because you have the ability to enjoy a better user experience. So imagine going to OAuth web access from a mobile device. This is not productive, to say the least. So the user experience is terrible. It's great on a PC or a laptop, but it's terrible for a mobile device. It's not designed to be used on mobile devices, and therefore you can prevent that access from a mobile device and just use this service, which again is using the native user experience, which is by far better. I hope I understood the question right and answered correctly. By the way, you have my email address here. I'd be happy to answer separately or hold separate discussions to go into more detail.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is from Mika Virtanen on the phone line. You should be unmuted now. Go ahead, please. Hello, Mika, are you there?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have a headset right now.
Okay, no problem. Would you like me to read out the question as you typed it?
Where are your servers located, and what I have to do if I want to test this with our outsourced Exchange server?
I couldn't hear you very well. Sorry for that.
That's the problem with headsets.
Okay, Dror, the question was firstly, where are the servers located?
Okay.
And secondly, is there a possibility to test the service with an outsourced Exchange installation?
Okay, so for the first question, our cloud service is hosted on AWS, the Amazon Web Services, in the US. But again, there's an option, which is a very valid one, to install on-premise. The second answer is definitely yes. The solution supports both on-premise Exchange implementation as well as hosted Exchange, as well as Google Apps, because we're using ActiveSync, and ActiveSync is supported by all these types of implementations.
Okay, thank you, Dror.
And by the way, just another note, testing our solution is also very easy. So even if your goal is to install on-premise eventually, to run a test or a trial, that could easily be set up on the cloud. It is being set up in minutes, 5 minutes, and you're up and running. So very easy to test the solution, and encourage you to just try it out.
Fantastic, thank you. Does that answer the question, Mika?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, and we also have 3 questions, in fact, from Fernando Gonzalez. Fernando, this one doesn't want to unmute, so I'll just read out them one by one. So the first question is, how do you manage double authentication such as OTP, and can you use third-party solutions or your own?
So we use a third-party solution. We don't have OTP as part of our solution. Just to mention, authentication in general is orthogonal to our solution. So any type of stronger authentication can quite easily be added. What I've shown here is a joint development work that we've done with one of the strong authentication vendor. So yes, we're using a third-party vendor for that.
Thank you. So the second question then is, in Latin America, BlackBerry still has a very large presence, even though it's changing. Does LetMobile work and integrate with BlackBerry OS?
So this is a yes and no. BlackBerry is not supporting ActiveSync out of the box. So that's the older versions of BlackBerry, so we cannot support that because our email solution is based or dependent upon ActiveSync. BlackBerry 10 is officially supporting ActiveSync, but we don't have any implementations of that. So it should, or we should support BlackBerry 10, but we don't have any, I would say, commercial deployment for using BlackBerry 10.
Okay, thank you. And the final question at the moment from Fernando is, you briefly talked about integrations with AV and other security solutions. Is that like an SDK tool for integration, or integrate with a specific security or AV solutions? And by the way, Fernando thinks your last 2 answers have been fantastic, so interested to see them.
Yeah, so no, it's more generic. We're using APIs and standard protocols. Just to give you an example of how we can work with AV, this is quite complicated and different, so I'll try to be clear. When you create a new message or compose a message on your mobile device, what happens to the message is it is not being sent from the mobile device. What happens is that the mobile device sends a request to the mail server to send the message. Now, on that way in, when the mobile device, this request from the mobile device to the exchange server to send the message, usually passes through from the mobile device directly to the exchange server, which can become a vector for attack. What we can do is to use standard protocol like, I forgot the name, sorry. I forgot the name of the protocol, to send that message to an AV service that's already in place or in use by the organization. Make sure that this request is clean, and only then send the request from the mobile device and deliver it to the exchange server. This is one example of how we can integrate with AV. I did describe in detail how we can integrate with the existing DLP services that are available already on the network.
Fantastic, thank you, Dror. Yes, and there is, to answer the other question, we will be sending out a recorded version of the presentation. We'll be making that available, so you will be getting a copy of that. Okay, that's the end of all the questions I have here. Are there any others? Oh yes, here we go, from Simon. Is there any way to integrate with a legacy system such as ERP, CRM, or intranet using LetMobile?
There is going to be a way when we release our secure access to corporate application solution. At the moment, what we offer is secure email, contacts calendar, attachment, document repository. So that's what we have available today. But again, towards the end of the year when we release web application support, then the answer would be yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't currently see any other questions, so unless we receive... Oh, we've got a thank you saying the presentation was excellent, so congratulations, Dror.
Thank you.
So I think we'll go ahead and end the session there. Thank you all for joining. Hope you found it informative. And hope you have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.